May 31st, garden update. Tomatillas has already gotten some fruit, and these are a special kind of black Spanish climbing bean. It's like a black turtle bean, it's a bush, but it climbs. And these are some shallots, gray gazelles. They never do well. I just have enough to start over every year. These are all black beans, regular black turtle beans. And I just plant the seeds from last year, and when I'd have a bad crop, I just buy more at the store. And these are cabbages, Jersey Wakefield, because I got the seeds cheap. Um, they're planted direct sowed, so they're not really a head start or anything. They're just getting started, and I need to pull the weeds out. You can see all these weeds scattered. But we're having a moist day, and so the weeds haven't dried. But you see here these beautiful flowers on the black turtle beans. They really grow great, and they're a bush, a semi-climbing bush. They don't climb, they just sort of put a few climbing runners up, but they don't get tall enough to actually climb. Now, on the other hand, these poles you see right here, the bamboo poles, I grow my own bamboo, and these are Asian long beans. They need to be trellised. You've got to have them climb. I wait till the soil's wet, and then I stick these in the ground, and they kind of cement themselves in. You can't have them too tall or they'll blow over, but I just keep adding more and more, and eventually the beans tie them together. Even those over there, they've been through a storm and they're still tying together. This is all okra, and I need to pull weeds from it too. It's very much a chore that you have to do. This is my favorite okra. It's Stewart's Z Best. It's a long, thin okra that a couple in Houston made from another variety of Louisiana okra that the French brought when they settled Louisiana. I think it's called emerald okra that they designed it from. And it's designed to be much bushier. It's extremely productive. It gets 7 feet tall, and I highly recommend you grow it in a long row and not in a big block, because I had a big garden with nothing but okra, and climbing into it to pick it, you get the little stingers on it. It makes you itch. And so with the row, you don't have to come in contact and climb into the canopy. But it was nice going in there and being shaded, because it was so dark in the canopy that there were no weeds. This right here is called giant Japanese red mustard. Well, there's nothing giant about it. I don't know why they gave that the name, because it's always been this size. It's the same size as any mustard I've ever grown, but the red is just beautiful. So that's as big as it gets. It's already going to seed. I'll save the seeds because this is my favorite mustard, mainly because it's the most beautiful mustard, but I like that it is easy to wash because it doesn't have a lot of convolutions in the leaves. It seems to be much more winter and heat hardy than all the other mustards I've ever grown. So I recommend it. And once you get it, you save your seeds every year and you don't have to buy more seeds. I do the same thing with the Stewart's Z Best and with the Asian long beans. I save seeds of everything. And you can also save seeds from hybrids. Just remember, your first few years, you're going to have to do a lot of picking out which plants to save seeds from, and it's a work in progress. But if you just get a stable heirloom variety, you won't have to do that. Just save it every year. These big, thick cabbage plants are collards. And it doesn't matter what variety of collards I've gotten. They're all about the same. They're much easier to grow than cabbage. I'll show you the difference. You see how thick they grew? And you pick the outer leaves and you just keep eating them. They can make coleslaw with them. You can make sauerkraut just as good, if not better, than regular cabbage. This is some Jersey Wakefield that I planted from transplants that I started early in the year. You need to start cabbage if you live in Zone 7A. You need to start it while it's still solid frozen outside. Like start it in the middle of January and let it grow. Then plant it outside. Now these are all just lettuces and some chard. There's more lettuces and chard and beets. And these are walking onions. I just now transplanted them from my other walking onions about 2 weeks ago. And so they're not really doing that well. This is the type of lettuce, and I transplanted that from growing indoors. But the lettuce out here, I just direct sowed. And right here, you'll see these are all beets. These are all beets. And they're going to make a pretty good crop because beets need moisture, and they're getting plenty of that. And these are yellow crookneck squashes. You could also get yellow straight neck squash. They're the same. They produce the same. They act the same. They're a summer squash. You're going to not let them grow very long because they start to wither and die of diseases and bugs after just a few weeks, but they bear very, very heavily for a short period of time. Most people just chop them up and stir fry them. That's how I do it. I save the seeds every year from these. They're very easy to save seeds from. Just let one plant, that your favorite plant, like you see the one on the very end, it's the thickest, healthiest plant. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave that plant and eat the rest of these, and I'm going to leave that plant. Eventually, I'm going to save 2 fruits. I'm going to let them get hard, like a gourd, and they're all in the same family. They're in the same family with gourds, cucumbers, watermelons, squash, but I'm going to let that one get really hard, and then I'm going to let it sit out until it dries, and I'm going to get the seeds out of it, and that'll be enough. Hundreds of seeds for next year, maybe 2 or 3 of those. I just save from one plant, my favorite plant, every year, and see, it's going to be pollinated by all the rest anyway. I do the same with everything. I save my best plant. And these are all straight 8 cucumbers, designed because they're not crooked, they're straight, and they're an heirloom, and they grow back every year. And this is the famous bean that everybody claims was found in a cave in some ancient indigenous primitive people's clay pot or something. They're always saying different stories about where it was, and it's really supposedly the same as the Jacob's cattle bean, but I got it as a free gift. This first year I ever grown it. It seems to be that it wanted to climb. It was called a bush bean, but I can see that it would have been a very good climber. And there's one of the flowers it makes. Beans are really good for your soil. You should plant them any chance you get, anywhere you want. They're easy. Just stick the seeds in the ground. When the soil is warm. If you plant them too early, they'll be sick. They'll never grow good because they have a symbiotic relationship with a bacteria called rhizobia. And those bacteria make the food for the bean plants. And they're already in the soils if you've grown beans or wild legumes grow around in your land. And you don't use chemical fertilizers and stuff. You just let your land get rich and organic. These kind of rhizobia bacteria don't thrive when the soil's cold, and then the bean gets a bad start in life. So you wait till the soil is really warm before you start them. These are dill. Dill come up on their own in your garden once you get them going and they start to produce seeds. You're going to have them coming up all the time. They're slightly frost hardy. If they come up early, they can take frost, but they can't take a heavy freeze. Like I said, a lot of plants volunteer once you planted them. What I do with my garden is I noticed after bulldozing and logging that different kinds of weeds grow in soils that have been cultivated or disturbed. They won't grow in the lands and the woods until the land has been destroyed by cultivation, be it hogs, swine, animals burrowing in the soil. Then you'll see that different plants start to come up. Like I've had land bulldozed that looked forever the same for decades. Then after bulldozing, it was just covered in black-eyed Susan flowers and primrose. And so garden vegetables are about the same. They like to be cultivated. Now, I do have a garden or two that I just mulch, and that seems to be okay. I'm really trying to do that and have been for about 20 years. I've read about Ruth Stout's method when I was just a kid, way back in the 70s, when I was about 8 years old or something. But those days are over. I've learned that cultivation is pretty much the only way I can do it because I can't afford the input. You got to continually find mulch, and hay's not cheap, and my animals need it, and there's really not enough leaves to cover a garden this size. Um, and my other garden, this was once a root out garden. It just didn't work out. We don't have enough rain in the summer normally to even penetrate the mulch, and the mulch becomes like an absorbent paper towel. But enough of that. I have to cultivate. What I do every spring is I take my tractor and I cultivate the whole garden, and then I plant the garden in nice neat rows. And I like to use a wheel hoe. I prefer a wheel hoe with metal handles. I prefer a small wheel hoe, not a big wheel, high wheel hoe. I don't like the high wheel hoes because I've had them for years a lot of times, and they don't seem to last me. I'm too rough with them. Of course, one year I let my garden grow up too high. It was really hot and dry, and I gave up on it. Then I ended up coming into bush hogging and forgot my high wheel hoe was out there, and I bush hogged over it, ground it up. My beautiful, expensive high wheel hoe, tore it up. Well, I decided to go with a more expensive, better wheel hoe, and I was going to go into buying one with the wooden handles. It's real famous that they give to these YouTubers that have a whole lot of subscriptions. They give them these wheel hoes. I've noticed they give them to people that have little tiny gardens that don't even need a wheel hoe. They don't even know what to do with it because they always leave a review. But if they got to give the wheel hoe away to everybody, it must not be a very good wheel hoe. So I just look for something durable. I really liked the Whiz Bang wheel hoe that some guy used to tell you how to make yourself. But he quit, and he was also making them and selling them for a while, and he quit, but I wanted that bad. So I found a wheel hoe that's quite a bit like the Whiz Bang, and it's got great attachments, and you can carry all the attachments out to the garden in one fell swoop. And that's good to have them all together because you never know when you're going to need them. Like sometimes you need to make a roll real quick. You can't go a quarter mile back to the house and go get stuff and that you need it all there. So this is what my wheel hoe has. It's got this bar that I've got with it. See the blue thing, and all the attachments are on this bar, and you can literally carry them with you, and that's really nice. I like that. And you attach it to the wheel hoe itself, and it drives on out there. I used to use a motorized rototiller. I've had several varieties in the front tined and the rear tined, and oh my, you don't want a front tined. You get a rear tined if you want one, but I don't recommend them anymore. I gave mine away because I got tired of every spring after sitting over winter, it wouldn't start, and when you're a farmer, you got to do something right now. When it needs to be done, the fences are down. After a storm, you got to fix them right now. You can't wait till tomorrow. Your animals can get out. You got to take care of things. Like my garden would be all full of deer. They're all around me, you see. I love animals. I'm a vegetarian, vegan. But I love animals, and I want to live in harmony with them. I want them to live better because of me. I want to make nature a better place. I want to be good to the earth. I don't want to spoil the earth. I want to enhance it. And so I have an electric fence around here that's solar. I already told you guys that. That right there, I got a real powerful one because I have to keep bears off the beehives, and you got to zap them good. And it also is important. It's an S100. It zapped the crap out of anything, but it won't hurt anything really because I've been zapped by accident several times. And it just pops you back. But whew, you don't forget it, and all my animals don't forget it. I don't even have to worry about making it tall or anything. I just put the fence out. When they see that wire, and they can see it really good because it's a poly wire, and I have one that's yellow and one that's bright white, they stay away from me because it's like a force field to them. They just know somehow out there, I got the crap shocked out of me. Even my very intelligent dog won't go near here because he got zapped so badly once. He said, I'm not going over there. Something zapped me. I know I'm not supposed to be there. I'm staying out. But I have to take care of that. If it's not charged fully by the sun, like on a cloudy day like this, I have it off on a cloudy day like this so it can charge because I'm out here anyway. I keep the battery charged, and it's always ready to go because if I miss one moment, they could get out and wipe out my garden. They could get in and wipe out my garden. Enough of that. But anyway, so these squashes, oh man, you should grow them. Summer squash are very, very easy to grow. Any summer squash. And beans are very good for your garden. They help your soil. You should grow them every chance you get. These are cucumbers, and they're very productive. Cucumbers just bear like crazy for a fast period of time, like the summer squash. And there's my wheel hoe. I love it. It's really good. It's stainless steel. It never rusts. Last year, I left it out, and the rain all the time, and it doesn't have any problems. But I've had wooden handled ones that cost a fortune in my past, and the wood just rots in just a few months. It's horrible to leave it out there. But I can't be taking that gigantic thing all the way home. Anyway, with the regular rototiller, it was never really there when I needed it. I'd need to plow because you got to beat these thunderstorms. You got to get planted before them. You got to plant at the right moments. Even if you get into the planting by the waning or waxing of the moon, which is supposed to draw the soil moisture up and help seed germination. And then there's certain times when you want to plant certain things. And it's all there. You can find these free apps on the phone, or you can get books, or you can talk to real old people who know what they're doing. I'm a kind of an old 59-year-old guy, but I don't really know what I do, and I need to look it all up all the time. I don't even hardly know what day of the month it is lately, because I really don't care, except when I gotta do stuff. Anyway, this is tobacco, and the tobacco that you grow naturally, I have smoked it. I tried to be spiritual, and I smoked to try to get it to rain once. It didn't work. I tried to commune with the spirits, all that stuff they say the native cultures do and stuff like that. But it never really worked for me too much, but at all. But anyway, this is tobacco, and it's really nice stuff. When you try to smoke that, it doesn't burn your eyes or anything. It doesn't have a bad flavor, or it doesn't stink. The natural tobacco is just so much better. And the flowers smell wonderful, and you can see they're not really poisonous because bugs eat the leaves. Bugs like to eat the leaves. See that? It's not poison. But it's nothing like the cigarettes that you see people smoking that they buy, because those things have like 20 or so chemicals added to them, so they continue to burn like a dynamite wick, and that way they can make money. I think a cigarette lasts 10 minutes. It's got that much strychnine or whatever it is they put in dynamite wicks, firecracker wicks, or whatever. It's got stuff in it that makes it different. It stings your eyes. It doesn't have a good smell. This natural tobacco is really something different. But anyway, this is not a very healthy plant. It just came up on its own. It volunteered. I normally grow tobacco for my bees. My bees love the nectar in those tubular flowers, and so do hummingbirds and hummingbird moths. They love them. And sphinx moths, and that's tobacco hornworm, I think, is a sphinx moth, and it eats the leaves too. But there's no tobacco hornworms on them. We've had a pretty good year of spring. It's still been pretty moist, and it's, like I said, almost June 1st. I think tomorrow will be June 1st. And that keeps the bugs away. I don't have any bug problems at all. Now, I learned something from my friend Eric about leeks. He gave me these leeks. They're supposed to be musselburgh, and it was a bad year. I didn't get any rain all year until the frosts came in fall. And these leeks are almost a perennial. They are a perennial. You see how these leeks are growing side shoots? They're growing side shoots. Once planted, I would just cut the top off and eat that and leave them in the ground because they continue to grow. They also make dandy seeds, so you can grow more. So the leeks are awesome. I haven't yet eaten them because I had such a bad year. See, there's a honeybee, and this one's got Italian bloodline. A queen bee mates with a lot of males, and so they'll have different kinds of breeds of bee in their babies. And when the queen chooses her own, when the queen lays eggs and the workers choose their own 4-day-old larva to make a queen with, sometimes they choose a black bee, sometimes they choose a yellow bee like that. That will become an Italian queen. So it just depends. But anyway, it's amazing that they're after the pollen on the leeks, because right now the basswood's blooming really heavy. More stuff. My favorite plant to grow are these tomatoes. And I made a trellis out of the old cattle panels after my horses destroyed the cattle panels. I thought I was going to keep them in a little pen to train them, but they just put their little feet on there and squish them to daylights real easy. I've got some massive Percheron horses. They're huge. They weigh 2,000 pounds each, and they're girls or mares. And they can snap these things just by rubbing on them. Cattle panels can't hold these horses. But now I've used them. Even though they're kind of twisted up and everything, they make perfect little trellises to tunnel through. And these climbing tomatoes, known as Burgess triple crop, or also Italian climbing tomato or tree tomato, they are very heavy producers. These already have some big old tomato flowers on them already. It's going to be June 1st. And they're climbing through, and I just sort of weave them through. You got to be very careful because you could snap them. If they have a lot of nitrogen, they'll snap easier than if you don't have a lot of nitrogen in the soil. With all the thunderstorms we have now, there's going to be a lot of nitrogen in the soil because the lightning electrifies the atmosphere and fixes nitrogen because it's very hot. And you can make nitrogen out of air with the Haber-Bosch process by simply heating the air, and it fixes the nitrogen so plants can use it. Now, the air you have around you is mostly nitrogen, like 78% nitrogen, but it's not usable by plants until lightning strikes through it. And then only that area where it rains. So there's a lot of nitrogen. That's why my garden looks so green. I haven't done any fertilizing on it, but I do fertilize it. I have goats and I have horses and I have chickens, and I can use that. These are sweet potatoes. They're my favorite of all things to grow, because you can store them forever as long as you keep them dry and out of the freezing weather. Put them somewhere in the house and cover them up, and they'll stay forever as long as they're nice and dark and everything, and not too cold, not too warm. And they're one of the most nutritious things there is to eat. And you can eat the shoots too. The shoots are really good. You can eat those just like any other vegetable. So I simply save my smaller tubers, since it doesn't matter what size you save, since it's the seeds that make the difference on selecting the genetics. And I haven't planted any seeds. I just use the same clones of the tubers. So I save my smaller tubers in a box, and then I just root those now. And I cut the roots off, put them in a glass of water for 3 days, and then, I cut the stems off and root them in a glass of water for 3 days, and they make good roots, and then I stick them in the ground. I could actually make this 130-foot row right here with just 3 sweet potatoes in about a month. The row from here to here is a purple variety. Sorry. The row here and here is, from here to here, is a Japanese variety that's actually from Louisiana. They call it a Japanese sweet potato, but it isn't. It's from Louisiana. And then from here, you'll notice a different type of sweet potato. That's the purple Hawaiian sweet potato. And it is really my favorite, purple through and through. It tastes much better than the yellow one. The yellow sweet potato or orange sweet potato does not have the flavor of the purple. The purple just tastes so much better. Now, I've been saving these purples for quite a while, and there's something different. This one here has different leaves. As you can see, they're kind of pointy than like this one, and it's also a purple. So I accidentally somehow have gotten 2 different varieties of these purples, but I have no idea how, because I've been doing this for like 10 years. I don't even grow the orange or yellow anymore because I can get them at the store anytime. So I like to grow what I think is better. And that's what I think is better. Now here's something that always volunteers. Okay. These are a very tasty ground cherry, which is not a cherry. It's related to tomatillas, Phacelis. It's Phacelis variety. Here's one. They just volunteer. See that beautiful, thick, lush, tomatilla-looking growth, but it's greener and lusher? These are all weeds, except for that. It's right there. Whatever. That's a chard, but that is a volunteer, and they just come up. And you got to watch when you're pulling weeds. You got to watch for volunteer plants that you know are really good. Here's another one of the ground cherries, volunteering. That is just lamb's quarters. It goes wild all over the place. I don't like the taste of lamb's quarters. Don't like it at all. It's in the Chenopodium family. I just don't like the taste of it. I love Swiss chard because it's in the beet family. And oh man, does it ever continually just keep making leaves. It's great stuff. Several kind of garden plants you can plant that just keep growing all summer long and keep bearing are okra and Swiss chard